Hello and welcome. It's time for One on One. My name is Titi Oyinsan, and today we are diving into a really vital topic for anyone in the creative arts industry. Let's talk strategic communication in creative arts. Now, why are we discussing this? There's just so much to explore, especially with regards how strategic communication helps creative professionals not only build their brands but also connect with their audiences. And today we're going to be having Ayo Daramola shed more light on this. Who is Ayo, you might ask? Now, Ayo is a social reformer. He has an enthusiasm in global governance, public relations, history, and social political matters. He's the founder of DOA and Associates, and that's a strategic communications consult agency with a talent management arm that actually engages in providing a platform for young creatives, creative leaders, especially in various niches like creative arts, acting, dancing, photography, modeling, even singing, and as far as cookery. Uh, he's got so much professional knowledge in social media communications. He's even into copywriting, content creation, PR, reputation management. You know what? He's done it all. And yeah, it's really great that he was able to take out time to speak to us today. Ayo Daramola, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Titi. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege for me to be here, actually.
Thank you so much for connecting with us. Now, you have a lot
Yeah,
on your plate. You have an incredibly busy schedule. You've been working in this industry
yeah,
for a bit now, but you need to talk to us about
yeah,
how you got into this industry and, of course, what birthed the whole idea of DOA and Associates. Talk to us.
yeah. Yeah. Apparently, the space is been something of interest for me since I was in the secondary education. I was running my secondary education. Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. Because when I was in the secondary school, I used to write. Yeah. And, I went to a boarding school, and my dad would come visit me, yeah, in school. And then he's going to be going through my books. Yeah, he's going to be going through all my books in my bag just to check, oh, do the normal parental check and all that. So one day he found a journal that I had written. I think I was in SS2 at that particular time. And I'd written so much, I would talk about somebody popular, I write about it, but I'll go to the newspaper and tear the picture of the person and put it inside my book. It was like a 60-leaf book then, you know. So I began building this for so long. When my dad came on that particular day and saw it, he was like, young man, I didn't send you to school to come and do this. And then he tore the whole thing, you know. And to me, I was like, wow, really? You just stole my whole work. Oh, where do I start from? And that was when I began to discover that there are some things that are inherent in me that have to do with communication, either in the writing space or in the copy editing space. Yeah, and eventually would be in the talking space. So, I began to discover this and I didn't let it die because as soon as I was leaving school, I began to think about doing media communications and all that because I began to think of what could necessarily amplify this idea that I have in writing and all that. So I thought, okay, media and communication. But eventually, I began to explore other side of myself, which had to do more with politics because I discovered that I love to talk politics. Yeah, and I love to be fascinated with government. So I said, okay, I could do communications later, and then I do this, as my first option. So I took the route of studying international studies in school and all that. But as soon as I came out of school, yeah, and I finished and I graduated and all that, now I began to notice the generation that we find ourselves. And
Mm,
what I discovered was that it is an interesting generation with a lot of spontaneity. Yeah, the individuals that find ourselves in this generation are very, very spontaneous. We are very, we do things at the speed of light. We do things just anyhow. We do it regardless of how, whatever the consequences is, as long as it gives us a kind of succor, a kind of like a kind of happiness, a kind of joy, that kind of thing. And we just do it regardless of whatever it comes up with. So I said, okay, how do I tend to, because over the years, after learning a lot, I said, how do I tend to help people to actually understand that you don't just do things anyhow. There's a need for you to have a proper foundation in whatever niche that you find yourself. And then there's also a need for you to have proper representation in whatever you find it so that you are not swindled, so that you are less, you become, you fall into mistakes lesser, when going through the journey of life. So I said, okay, DOA and Associates, well, I think I should come up with that where I employ everything that I have learned, everything that I have worked over the years, and help people to be a bit strategic about their
Yeah.
spontaneity. Now, remember, I said, yeah, be strategic about spontaneity. Yeah,
I want
please
to
go ahead.
touch on that word strategic now,
Yeah,
because the, it's kind of difficult to define what strategic communication actually represents, especially
yeah,
in the field of creative arts. Why
yeah.
is it so important for creative professionals to
Yeah.
understand strategic communication? Talk to
Now,
us.
strategic, yeah, yeah, yeah. Strategy is placement. All right. Strategy is style. Strategy is branding. Strategy is how you is positioning. Right. Now, you shouldn't be everywhere because you are a creative. You should be where it matters the most. That's what exactly what strategy is. You shouldn't be everywhere because you are a creative, but you should be where matters the most. All right. So for instance, if you tend to be a fashion designer, for instance, you might not want to be, you might not want to be because probably the Ovation magazine could be a bit expensive for you. But if you're probably just outdoing yourself, outgrowing yourself, you want to find channels that are a bit more, affordable and strategic enough and still get you the desired results that you need to achieve. So maybe you want to take advantage of places like Pinterest, you want to take advantage of places like Instagram, you want to take advantage of places like TikTok, right? So strategy is helping you to position yourself in
Mm.
where it matters the most. So that is it. You don't have to be everywhere, you just have to be in the place
So,
that you have been.
So I get that and I understand that. I'm trying to
Yeah,
see how it's different from general communications or general
yeah,
marketing strategies,
yeah,
especially in the
yeah,
creative arts industry, because everyone
yeah.
seems to be doing almost the same thing. But are they
Yeah.
being strategic about it? That's the question. Talk to us about the differences.
Okay, so the differences are there's a thin line between the strategy and the communication side of it. Yeah, and the thin line is very clear. You want to position yourself and not be everywhere at the same time. Now you are communicating in those platforms that you tend to express yourself, whether you are on the road doing a marketing show, a road show, or you are on the social media displaying your work. You don't have to be everywhere. You just have to own your niche. Now it is understanding it from what your niche has to say. Now everybody is communicating, but most people communicate based on trend, right? A lot of people jump on trend. That is communicating to them. Oh, I just want to be on the trend. I just want to be what is happening. But sometimes the trend that you are trying to jump on has nothing to do with your strategic positioning for your niche. So if you're jumping on a trend that is not relatable to what you have to offer in terms of your inherent skills, it's a misplaced priority in communication. So that is why we try to be what we do is we try to make you strategic. Tell you, okay, this is the way to go. You start by doing this, you start by doing research, you start by doing outlining your action plan, you start by talking about your communications plan, and you talk about your evaluation model. So this is where it is.
So now you've already started breaking down my next question.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
the
Okay.
key elements of a successful, well,
Yeah.
relatively successful strategic communication plan.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you were to create a plan for someone like me, I do so many
Yeah.
different things. We've already said about three times now that you can't be everywhere. You can't be everywhere. You can't do everything. And
Yeah.
I've strived to sort of be in a position where
Yeah.
I can communicate with a particular demographic, particular age group. But let's talk about those key elements that have to be in a successful strategic communications plan.
Yeah. All right. Today we have what we call community. Today we have what we call community. We have what we call exploration. We have what we call loyalty, and then we have what we call evaluation. Yeah, and it's what the word today is in terms of you are in this when you start out. We're in the space of community. Now you're looking at it from, okay, in your community, what is relatable? How do I introspect in myself? Okay, this is what I have to offer. Yeah, I'm a designer. Okay, where should I be? Should I really leverage Instagram? For crying out loud, you're a graphic designer. Yeah, you should be more on Pinterest. Why are you on Instagram? Right? You should leverage things that amplify you. Now, the idea that you have to be everywhere is in the community side of things, is where you are doing a lot of research. It is at community level where you are introspecting. You're putting down all your communication, all your research plan into your niche. For instance, uh, for whatever you want to write or for whatever you want to push out there, somebody somewhere has been able to do something that actually relates to what you're doing before. So all you need to do is go to Google, askthepublic.com, for instance. There's a website called askthepublic.com. You can type in your niche and type in that particular thing that you want to talk about, that thing you want to do. And it gives you an overview, it gives you a proper overview of of the happening in that particular niche. Remember, when you do a scattered plan, if you do a scattered research, you would find that, oh, this is what everybody is doing. Eventually you stumble on things that are not actually that would not eventually get you remuneration. Because the whole idea is to communicate, right? And the whole idea is to get you remuneration. It's not just for you to be pushing out your creative out there, but it's for you to be specific. So a site like askthepublic.com, would help you to position your strategy properly. You're able to see, okay, this is the topics that are actually trending in my niche, and this is where I need to attack it from. All right.
So now you are also into talent management.
Yeah.
Now talents are also being referred to as brands now.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so how does strategic communication, which you are into, how does that help in building and maintaining a strong personal brand for creatives? So now, yes, you've mentioned people into tailoring, being on Pinterest
Yeah.
as opposed to
Yeah.
Instagram, because that is what
Yeah.
works for them. But then
Yeah.
personalities, there are different types of personalities doing different types of things, but everyone seems to be a brand now. So where do we begin?
Yeah. Yeah, all right. So, I started by talking about the fact that we're in a generation where spontaneity is something very interesting. Now, because of spontaneity, everyone believes that they are a brand, right? But the beautiful thing about this aspect is uh, people are actually doing the right thing. But what they lack is what I call the patience to see their work walk through their eyes. Yeah? Like for instance, if you have a race plan, which is research, action plan, communication, and evaluation, if you have that plan, oh, I need to be on TikTok. I need to know what is trending in my and leverage that particular trend in my brand on TikTok. And I need to push out there. You need to be patient enough to see through it and not jump into something else while you're doing something, right? So the what has been absent, right, in this space, okay, is the patience to see through what the stages of action plans. of our creative, they do not have the patience to work it out. They do not retain because they are so. Is what I call is what I call like an hypodermic needle. They are so invested in what successful people have done, neglecting where what has made people successful, right? So
Mm.
now the idea is in what has made people successful is the patience to see things through.
That
When you are making,
Okay, that
yeah,
patience to see things through is a delicate space to be in, and like
yeah,
okay, a big shout out to Vicky Tom Tom who is watching on YouTube, and of course, if you are watching right now and you have any questions for Ayo Daramola, you can always write it there in the comment
yeah.
section, and we will do what we can to respond to your questions on one on one. Um, is everything
Sorry, please
okay?
hold on 1 minute.
Okay, all right. Then. Okay, so yes, of course, if you are just joining us, we're talking about strategic communication in creative arts, and we've been speaking with Ayo Dharma. Now, if you don't know who Ayo is, let me give you a little bit of an overview. He is the founder of DOA and Associates, a strategic communication consult agency with a talent management arm that engages, providing a platform for young creatives. Let me see if I can mute that for him. Yeah, muted, I think. I hope it's muted. Is it? Okay. Is it muted? Okay, I think it's muted now. Someone is knocking his door, I think. So
Yeah,
uh,
I can hear you
there are
now.
quite a lot of questions we need to sort of answer in this creative space. This issue of branding and just trending, it's becoming a delicate space to be in, to exist in, and some brand management companies are using social media to push strategic communications plans. But in the end, how do we make sure that the brands are not the ones using the personalities and the personalities are not using the brands, and it's actually symbiotic? It's a match made in heaven. How do you make sure that it doesn't go out of or go in the wrong direction for your personal brand? He mentioned his social media handle earlier on, and I said I was going to share that. If you would like to find out more about Ayo Daramola, all you have to do is check him out
Yeah,
on Instagram. Just search for DOA and Associates. Yes, that's it. DOA and Associates. Oh, no, no, no. That's a DOA Talent Management Group. DOA Talent Management Group. Okay, that's the correct page. All right, I think he's back now. Are you there?
yes, I'm here. I'm here with you.
All right, then. Yes.
Yeah,
All right, then. Before you took a break just now, we were talking about something. I lost my train of thought, actually. Bu- 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 bum. Oh, goodness me. I talked about personal branding for creatives. I also
yeah,
talked about visibility for your clients that are in the space,
yeah,
and how people have become brands. How do we make sure that it is a symbiotic relationship? The media space is so delicate now, just like G.T. Smalls has just said here on YouTube. It's such a delicate space. How do you
yeah,
navigate this space in the most strategic way? Talk to us.
yeah. Basically, the media space is a very delicate in the sense that the first thing is that you must know that as a young creator, you basically have to do like a proper understanding of the market, yeah, understanding of where you need to be at a particular time. Now there are media channels that don't amplify your creation. So when you go to them, they tend to what they do is they tend to exploit you, right? Now there are channels that they don't necessarily are invested in your brand, in your kind of brand. So because everybody wants to be everywhere, oh, you just go, oh, I want to be on women's radio, for instance. I want to be on Hip TV. I want to be here or that. But then your type of music connects to a particular type of audience, or your kind of art connects to a particular demography of audience. Now you look for the media space that actually that actually connects to this demography. Now it's about the demography that you are trying to connect with, basically. It's not about the media. So that is where you put in effort and you all your remuneration into, just to solidify that platform. Now you can go and look at the reach. You can go and the, the placement of that particular media space. You can actually go and look at how well over time this particular media outfit has been able to connect with that particular demography, and how well over the time, what the kind of programs that they have, for this particular. I know that there are some media outfits that will tell you, oh, to display your talent. In fact, we have a program for you that is free of charge, right? That you can come in and showcase what you have to do. Why? Because they have an audience, all right, that is enormous, and they can easily leverage that audience and gain whatever idea that they want to gain from you. So all they need to do is they take you and showcase you to that particular audience. So it is the idea of, oh, I want to be everywhere. That is where I want to be on all the media spaces. This is where people, young creatives, find it difficult to connect, and this is where they are being exploited.
Mm, mm. Being exploited has
Yeah,
in some way become part of the process. And I think that many of us creatives have over time been told, yes, you have to do this, free that,
yeah, yeah,
um, pushed on random platforms
yeah.
just because you have to, in quote, pay your dues.
Dude, yeah,
And that paying has gone way beyond way beyond the number of years it should have been.
actually.
The average comedian is told you have to perform for free on stage,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and in the end get swayed into particular directions away from what they actually came into the industry for.
Yeah,
And it's hard to find their way back. Then you also have some managers who are just looking for a quick buck, just some quick change, and they assume that every personality has a shelf life. So
exactly.
this shelf life mentality,
Yeah.
where do you stand on that, and how do you advise creative professionals who have probably just assumed that they have a shelf life and they're not sure which direction to go now?
Okay. So now the idea is that people have to be humble enough to come back to the drawing board. Yeah. I started my analysis by saying that there's an outline plan, right? When you were a young creative, there's a place for research. There's a place to outline your actions, and there's a place to outline your communication plan and your evaluation plan. Yeah. Now you're at your research stage, you are introspecting. At your action stage, you're looking out for what are the things you need to put together. Your communication stage, you look at how to reach out, and then your evaluation stage is evaluating your feedback. Now you jumped all the way. When you get to that kind of shelf life problem, when you find yourself there, you means that you have actually jumped from the R to the E, and you are at the E where the feedback is damning, right? Because you've missed out on the AC, and you've missed out on the A and C of it, right? So this is where the problems come from. So the advice is you need to be humble enough to come back to the plan, right? Come back to the drawing board, and and uh, and be able to look at where the mistakes are coming from, yeah, and de-emphasize the mistakes that you have made, yeah,
Mm,
and it is, yes, and de-emphasize and deliberately de-emphasize. Then number two is find people, who are willing to grow with you. Many people find themselves with people who are short term, in terms of the fact that because they are always looking for what I would call a quick um, route to the top. So they need people who are short term. So when the damage is already done, yeah, when the damage is already done, it becomes difficult to run around to run along with the shame. So it is better if you have actually fallen into that kind of mistake. There's still a way back, right? There's still a way back, and the way back is to go back to the drawing board, look at these stages, and see where you've made the mistake, and then also find people, like I said, who are willing to grow with you. Not everybody, not everybody do you discuss with. Not everybody do you speak to about things. There are people who would grow with you to the end, and that is where
Yeah.
it is. Yeah,
So, where do we now stand on emerging trends? There
yeah,
are things, there's all sorts of new technology, new applications, new platforms growing all the time. There's some that are
yeah,
even paying more money now than ever before. There's the almighty YouTube, of course, which we're streaming on now, but then there are
yeah,
other platforms that even pay even
yeah.
more, but maybe don't have as much
I,
visibility.
I I know
Um,
playback. I know one playback. I know,
Exactly.
yeah,
Playback is right there. There's
yeah,
also the fact that even audio, talking Spotify, talking Deezer, talking
yeah,
Apple
hmm,
Podcasts,
yeah.
Google Podcasts, and the like,
Up focus.
they pay even more now for just the audio version than even a YouTube. And
Yeah,
it does seem to feel like we can't really catch up, like it's a moving train. How many of these platforms do we ever do you ever completely understand before the train has essentially left the station? So
yeah,
um do you see these trends having more of a significant impact on the creatives industry in the near future, or do you feel like um in the end we're always going to be playing catch up, especially since the industry is no longer just local. We're now a global village. It's international now for most people. You'd be surprised that most of the people watching and listening to this right now are probably
yeah,
Nigerians outside the country. So, where do we
yeah,
stand on that?
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Titi, the space for leveraging trend is inevitable. All right. It's inevitable for you to actually, avoid trends in today's world, right? So it is important that you begin to train yourself up. Like I was taking some students one time and I sent them a link on how to study AI, for instance. Yeah. So now there's some basic knowledge that you need to have. If you do not have this basic knowledge, like for instance, how the basic teachings in AI, when you have that kind of teaching, can understand where the trend in your niche will be going to in the nearest future, right? So you can look
mm,
at that particular AI or that particular application or that particular software that fits into what you're planning to do, all right, or what your niche is doing. Now, the beautiful thing about the new trends that are coming up is to amplify, to give our art life, more life. Yeah, they are not to demystify us or they are not to water us down or water our art down, but to give it more life. So the same thing goes that you're able to do a proper research of which of the places relates with you. Now, for instance, I follow somebody on Twitter. I'm a football fan, so I follow a particular link on Twitter where this person used to use the YouTube live before, yeah, and the person discovered that, oh, okay, there's playback now. If I use playback, I would not just speak to people. People will be able to come on the interface and make comment, not just in the chat box, but they will do an audio commenting. Yeah. So people can ask audio questions, not like not like on the YouTube where it just just in the text box and then people ask questions in the text box. Yeah, but on playback, you can actually get people to do an audio question. So it's to the trend is to amplify and to make our work even much more easier, right?
Mm,
Makes it more beautiful. All right, it makes it more beautiful. Imagine, you having the number of people asking questions now, and they're actually coming on to actually ask those questions directly to me.
live, straight
Yeah,
up here.
yeah, straight up. Yeah, you understand. So that is what exactly it is. The trends that are being developed today is not to water us down, but it's to amplify us.
Mm. Honestly, and amplifying it is so key, but amplifying it in the right direction. You said something earlier on. You said, some people have used strategies that have actually killed careers. um, but now, is it more risky to not have a strategy at all, or to have a strategy that could kill a career? Where do you stand? What's the balancing act? And I know that you're working with a lot of personalities who are facing some of these challenges all the
Yeah,
time. But of course, we have to wrap it up on one-on-one as at right now, because we've
yeah,
already hit 30 minutes. Imagine that.
yeah. It's
But
been a while.
thank you so much for joining us today on One-on-One. Just
Yeah,
give us your final thoughts about the industry. The If we go back to the main, bone of contention, um, strategic communications in creative
yeah,
arts
yeah,
and growing that creative arts industry. Final thoughts. Talk to us.
yeah. So I just want to say this here. Many young people today have some of the best plans. Okay, they find themselves in using some of the best phones, using some of the best apps to work. They have some of the best communication tools with them. But like I said, it's the patience to see their work walk through their eyes. That is where the challenge remains. All right, many people today are not patient enough to let their work work through them, right? And this is where it is now. You can while you're being patient to see your work develop and come into fruition, you can do things like attend events, network. Like if you go to www.eventbrite.com, you see a lot of free events that you can attend. While you're doing that, you go to 10times.com, you see a lot of events that you can attend. Events in your niche that are relatable, where you can network with people, right? Where you can connect with people. That would even make your work even faster. And some of these events are actually free events. You don't need to pay. You don't need to, right? You don't need to actually uh, do anything susceptible to make yourself bad, yeah, and all that. So well, and then you can also get a job. There's some like when I was 2013, all right. Me and my dad, we I, did- he told me something which I always like my dad for that. I do forget it to today. I was interested in working in the international relations fair, and he told me, Ayo, you're home, fine, you're in your school, you guys don't do IT at 300. Yeah, why not write a letter to the Nigerian City of International Affairs, telling them that you want to work with them voluntarily without being paid. And do you know that I actually wrote this letter to the NIA at that particular time? At that time, I think Bolaji Akitanewa was DG of the NIA. And do you know that I did not just work in the NIA. I became the best IT student of that particular year, and with an accolade of it. Why? Because I understood I was passionate about something. And I began to look for where I could slot in myself, voluntarily, and learn even more. So that is it basically. Sometimes you just need to be selfless.
Ayo Daramola here. Thank you so much for joining us on One-on-One. He is founder
Thank
of
you.
DOA
Thank
and
you so much.
Associates. He is a
Thank you.
communication
Thank
strategist. And we will definitely be talking more about this. Maybe you can do some kind of strategic plan for my brand, and
you.
let's
Oh,
see
no
which
problem. I'm going to be
direction.
honored for that. I'll be honored.
All right, then.
Thank you
Thank you
so much.
so much.
Thank, thank you, man. Thank you, man.
All right. So I have to say, conversations like this are few and far between. And in the end, when you have conversations like this, it tends to give you a little more insight into the direction different industries are going. I'd like to give a big shout out to all of you who sent in your comments. Of course, you can continue to send in your comments and questions in the chat box of whatever platform you are watching or listening to us from. We are on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on iHeartRadio, we're also on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, we're on X, and are we on Facebook right now? I think we are on Facebook. And of course, more importantly, Instagram. A big shout out to GT Smalls, to Voltron, to Michael Pedro, Mikel Pedro, also Vicky Tom Tom for sending in your comments and contributions today. They are extremely supportive, and we appreciate you. Make sure you hit that notification bell and subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you'll get a notification as soon as we go live next time. Yeah, we do it at least 3 times a week if we can, for the Dynamite Podcast Network. Speaking of the Dynamite Podcast Network, there are quite a lot of podcasts we work on together. And the team is working on quite a bit, and we would like to involve you as much as we can. All you have to do is send in an email. Just send an email. That's Dynamite Podcast Network at gmail.com, and tell us what you would like to talk about on One. There are quite a few other podcasts as well. There is the On Air Book Club, and of course there is Blockchain Mastery, as well as quite a few others. Just make sure you stay subscribed to this channel and hit that notification bell so you do not miss a thing. All right then, until next time. Once again, my name is Titi Oyinsan. Thank you so much for watching.